Hello, this is Dennis, and I decided to do a video this week, taking Robert's lead from last week. So I'm going to start off with the brain and looking at the Tarun brain versus the hemispheric brain. So the Tarun, we're looking at three different areas, as they call them: the reptilian, which would be the diencephalon, which is where the hypothalamus is, that controls the hormones, and then the brainstem, which controls things like the digestive system, breathing, the heart rate. The limbic, which has to do more with emotions, and then the neocortex, which has to do with thought, complex theories, and of course the main thing here for learning is actually memory happens to go on the neocortex. Hemispheric brain is looking at the right brain versus the left brain, with the right brain being the one that has more creativity to it, looks at patterns, images a lot more, and the left brain that has to do with language, logic, and the verbal part of the brain. So one thing when we start looking at memory is there's several different types of memory. When we look at it, we have long-term memory, which are things that our brain stores from repeatedly doing again. And this can be from things that are procedural, such as lighting a match to shoot yourself off on a rocket, to short-term memory, which are events that we remember, like maybe we should actually aim the rocket in the right direction when we're on it, to long-term memory, which has to actually do with learning how using these rockets can actually end up being. So when we put ourselves on the rocket and it always fails, we should have a long-term memory of this. And this actually memory would go along with higher functions in the hippocampus that would actually then take and put that memory up into the neocortex or this cerebrum, and we would remember that shooting ourselves off with a rocket is not a very good idea in the first place. Next, we kind of get to intelligence, and of course intelligence has always been one of these things that's been done with looking at IQ, whether somebody's got average, your genius, or in Wile E. Coyote's case, super genius. But there's several different things and theories that have actually challenged this way of looking at intelligence. One of them is the idea of fluid and crystal intelligence over time, and this is where we look at fluid intelligence, which actually has to do, it's a lot stronger in younger people, and has to do with a lot of your different book learning and things that you're learning in life and classroom settings, and crystal intelligence, which actually goes up with age and actually has to do with things that you've learned throughout life. The next thing that we kind of look at is Gardner's multiple intelligence, and this is actually based on research on different groups: gifted people, autistic people, idiot savant, and kind of came up with a biophysiological potential process where information can be activated in a cultural setting to solve problems, is kind of the basis of that form of intelligence. The next form that we kind of look at is Sternberg's triarctic theory of intelligence. And this has to do with the fact that problems faced in everyday life often have little relationship with knowledge and skills learned in school, but rather your intelligence actually comes from actually having to deal with these different things that come in life and builds up over time, and your analytical intelligence from having to deal with these actually makes you smarter. Next is Goleman's emotional intelligence, which is looking at an emotional IQ. So it's looking at things other than what our traditional IQ is, but how you are as far as dealing with people, their reactions, your own emotions in that setting, and what intelligence actually comes from that. Lastly, we get to cognitive development and wisdom, which is something that happens over time. And it's through multiple life experiences. Usually we see people get wisdom. And wisdom usually comes from all the different learning that's happened throughout the lifetime, to where when people get older, adults actually have this reserve of knowledge that we call wisdom. and they're actually able to transfer this wisdom from one generation to the next. So hopefully this is in 2 minutes, and I will have my question down below.